Hey fellas, this video was going to be a build series on the HK Models 1/32 scale DO335. This is a customer build, and it's going to be in flight like the most of the planes that I build. And this guy specifically likes them to be in flight and on a stand. And I was going to do a build video on this because I haven't seen any of them out there on YouTube. But I got to working on it and everything was going so good, and I thought I'd be cheating you guys, or I'd be cheating the YouTube community by doing a build video series on this, because I could skip a lot of the steps on the at the beginning stages, because it's going to be in flight. None of the panels are going to be open, and there are a lot of panels on this plane that can be opened. There's a lot of the inside stuff that can be seen, and I wasn't going to do any of that. So I didn't think that it would be a very good series to do a build video if I'm skipping you know, a lot of the steps. So everything was going great, and then I ended up putting the fuselage halves together, and they kind of went okay. And then I started putting on the panels, and it kind of all fell apart after that. So I am in the process of trying to fix the poor fitting panels, and I don't know if some of that's because of what I did. It didn't fall together, I can tell you that much. And I can't tell you if I'm at fault for it or if the kid's at fault. Probably a little bit of both. Maybe it's all my fault. Who knows? And the reviews that I've read about it, people have had good things to say about the kit and about how it fits and everything. So yeah, maybe it is my fault. I don't know. But either way, I'm having issues with the panels fitting correctly, and that's where I'm at now. So let's take a look at what I've done so far. Okay, so here's what we've got. We've got the fuselage, and it was kind of cool initially when I got this kit. I thought, hey, this is really cool because there's no centerline seam. What happens is the fuselage halves go together, but this top is totally open, and there's one big piece that fits over top. And it fit okay, but since I was doing a bunch of other stuff, I went ahead and just kind of I'm working on those seams, but they weren't bad. I probably could have left them, but since I was doing a lot of other work, I decided to fix them. So I've got the main fuselage halves, which are where my thumbs are. Then you've got the two side front engine cowl pieces. There's one here and then one on the other side that come together. There is a front piece that comes along here, goes into a T and comes up. You can hardly see it because I'm working on getting those seams out of there. You've got two pieces right here that can be opened up so you can see the two guns that are in this compartment. There's one here and one here. Then you've got this panel that fits over the rear engine, and then you've got this other panel that fits over this rear engine here, as well as the front landing gear bay, the bomb bay, which they don't include bombs, they just include like a fuel tank or something. I'm not really sure. But all this is going to be closed up, and as you can see, I'm working on that. So there are a lot of panels, and then there are a couple panels back here. Yikes. And then the engine cowl, let's see if I can find that somewhere. It's actually, it fits pretty cool. Oh, I lose half my crap. Oh well, I'll find it later. But anyway, the main fuselage halves went together pretty well. It didn't seem to want to close right here, because this the inside of the plane is, there's basically a flat piece of plastic that goes along here that makes up the top of the landing gear bay, the top of the bomb bay, and which the engines sit on, and which the cockpit sits in. And they're like a couple little posts that fit into the side of one of the fuselage halves. And I don't know that it fit in there correctly or flush, because when I put them together, there's a little piece right here that kind of stuck out. You can kind of see this little piece that goes along right there. So that was a bit of an issue. And then when I went to put these rear panels on alongside the engine, they have you put the exhaust stacks in one at a time, and there's a little bit of play in there. And so trying to, you know, get them lined up, I think probably the best case scenario is you get everything dry fitted in here, and you put them in, and then you place the cowl pieces over to line them up. But they weren't really lined up, so I had to come along here and file away just a hair along this opening on each side, so that they would fit, so that these pieces would fit. But as you can see, there's a little bit of step, and I would have been okay if they were all like this, but this was kind of like, there was a big step here. Over here you can kind of see, I'm going to sand this down and redo this. I'll probably leave this one right here. You can see there's a little bit of a step. I think I can live with that. There's a little bit of a step right here, which I'm going to sand flush. And then this was, you know, it wasn't bad, but I don't know, I wasn't real happy with it. And because the fuselage halves didn't fit together real great right in this spot, I had a bit of a gap when I closed up the front landing gear bay doors. So I just put in some plastic card there in various widths and shaved them down, and I may end up just, you know, sanding all this flush and rescribing and doing all this down here. Also, there was a gap along where the front engine cowl pieces go, these panels here. So normally what I use for my seams, if you've seen in other videos, is CA glue and metallic pigment. But with this one, let's look at the detail. You can see all the little rivet detail and all that stuff. Because I'm doing such a big area, the CA glue and metallic pigment doesn't scribe and rivet as well as other things. It does better in my opinion than putty. But so what I've done is I've used Sprue Goo. And it's kind of ironic because I got a comment this morning about the idea of using Sprue Goo, which I've used before and haven't had much luck with. But I decided to take a different route. I had been using, if you don't know what Sprue Goo is, it's basically like Tamiya extra thin mixed with styrene, and you get like and it kind of melts it down, and then once it dries it becomes plastic. But what I had been using is Tamiya extra thin mixed with like typical white plastic card like this. And I just never did like it. So what I did with this one is I took some of the actual sprues from this kit and mixed it with some Tamiya extra thin setting, or a quick setting. And it's working out much better than this white stuff. It's drying quicker, and it's it's more consistent. I think that other stuff, that white stuff I've been using was soft, and it just wouldn't scribe very well. So as you can see, I've already started here. My first coat of Sprue Goo, I've sanded it flush, and as you can see, it's pretty good. I then went along where I had missed some spots and filled it in. I filled this in about hour and a half ago, and it's somewhat dry. Not dry enough to sand, but it's dry enough to touch. So I'll let that set up for a little bit. I've also got my second coat of Sprue Goo down here. I used it along here, and although you can kind of see the seam, you can't feel it, so I assume it's gone. So that's what I'm working on now. I'm also going to use this Bombay for my rod that I'm going to insert into the base. And what I'm going to do is I've got 2 pieces of plastic card that I'm going to fit in here. And I'm going to glue them. Okay, you get the idea. And then I'm going to take my Magic Sculpt Epoxy Putty. I'm going to mix it up and I'm going to fill in this cavity right here. So then when I put the Bombay doors on, I'm going to have a solid area in which to drill out and stick in a rod to attach to the base. And that's going to give me a sturdy place to put the plane on the base. So that's what I'm working on now. I'll probably use a bunch of different seam line remedies for this one. And the wings went together really cool. Really good. I did have to use some, there's a little bit of a gap along where this joins. What I like what they've done is instead of having the seam along here, they have the seam right along here. So you've got this top wing piece and the bottom wing piece, and they fit together, but you glue right along here and not along the edge. Now there is kind of a molding seam along the edge that you have to sand, and you know, that's not that big of a deal, but it's a lot better than filling that in. Then they've got this piece which the guns stick out, and I've filled that with epoxy putty. And I've also, instead of using the guns that fit in there and the plastic little gun barrels that stick out, I've just cut some aluminum tubing and mated the barrels of the gun on here, and I've got a nice place to stick these, just like that, so I can paint these separately. This thing's also coming off because the customer sent me a pitot tube, but there was like a mating point in here which was square, so I'm just basically going to sand off this square piece here and round it off and then drill a hole so the metal pitot tube can go in there. But those are kind of cool. And what's neat is that and HK is pretty good about how they fix their wings to their models. And looks like this one's going to be pretty good as well. They just kind of go on there just like that. And there may be a little gap right here, but I can fill that with some testers and wipe it away and not have to do any sanding. Same on the bottom. But yeah, it fits pretty good. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm going to get to working, and this is the worst part of model making, is filling in these seams and sanding and all this crap. And hopefully once this dries, once I get it sanded flush, I can rescribe without a problem, because I'm going to have to rescribe all these lines here and everywhere that I've taken out. I'm going to have to rescribe them. So hopefully this new Sprue Goo that I'm using is going to work well for that. And then I'll have to come in and replace all these rivets, which isn't that big of a deal. If you look at the rivets, they're not real deep, so I can go pretty light. I don't even think that they're going to take a panel wash, to be honest with you, because they're so shallow. But there are a lot of them. So I'm going to get to work on that. And then once I get that completed, then you know, I'll probably do a painting video on it just like normal. And I will see you then.